On the outskirts of the small, forgotten town of Eldridge, a dense forest stretched as far as the eye could see. The townsfolk called it the Darkwood, a place no one dared to venture after sunset. For centuries, the forest had whispered tales of a terrifying creature, a werewolf that roamed its depths under the light of the full moon. One autumn evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, a chilling wind swept through the village. The air was thick with anticipation and unease, for tonight marked the first full moon of the season. Stories had circulated about the beast's howls echoing through the night, of glowing eyes seen lurking between the trees, and of disappearances that were never explained. Eldridge's inhabitants barricaded themselves in their homes, locking doors and bolting windows, while the bravest of them placed silver charms around their necks. The town's innkeeper, Mr. Hargrove, was among the few who dared to stay up. He sat by the hearth, clutching an old shotgun and sipping on a flask of whiskey, his eyes darting to the window every few minutes. As the clock struck midnight, an eerie silence fell over Eldridge. The usual sounds of nocturnal creatures were absent, replaced by an oppressive stillness. Then, it began a low, guttural growl that sent shivers down Mr. Hargrove's spine. He tightened his grip on the shotgun, his knuckles turning white. Outside, the moon cast an otherworldly glow over the Darkwood. The trees seemed to sway in rhythm with the growls that grew louder and more menacing. From his window, Mr. Hargrove saw a shadowy figure moving among the trees, its silhouette unnaturally large and misshapen. The growls turned into a bone-chilling howl that pierced the night, echoing through the empty streets of Eldridge. Inside a modest cabin on the edge of the forest, a young woman named Eliza sat hunched over an ancient book. Her grandmother had passed it down to her, claiming it held the key to understanding the curse that plagued their town. Eliza's eyes scanned the faded pages, her heart pounding as she read about the ritual that could supposedly end the werewolf's reign of terror. It required a silver blade, a drop of the werewolf's blood, and a chant performed under the full moon. Determined to save her home, Eliza gathered her courage and slipped out into the night, the book clutched tightly in her hands. She made her way to the Darkwood's edge, the shadows of the trees stretching out like twisted fingers. The howls grew louder, closer, as if the beast could sense her presence. Eliza's breath hitched as she saw the creature emerge from the darkness, a towering figure with matted fur and glowing, malevolent eyes. The werewolf's snout was stained with fresh blood, its claws glinting in the moonlight. It snarled, revealing rows of razor-sharp teeth. With trembling hands, Eliza drew the silver blade from her coat. She recited the ancient chant, her voice barely a whisper over the pounding of her heart. The werewolf paused, its ears twitching as if understanding the words. It lunged at her, but she stood her ground, the blade ready to strike. Just as the beast was about to pounce, a deafening roar echoed through the forest. The werewolf stopped midair, its eyes wide with confusion and fear. From the darkness, another figure emerged, a shadowy, indistinct shape that seemed to absorb the moonlight. The werewolf turned and fled, disappearing into the depths of the Darkwood. Eliza watched in stunned silence, her breath coming in ragged gasps. The shadowy figure remained, its presence both comforting and unsettling. It stared at her with eyes that glowed a soft, eerie blue before vanishing into the night. The townsfolk of Eldridge awoke the next morning to find Eliza standing at the edge of the forest, the silver blade in her hand and a determined look in her eyes. She had survived the night, but the mystery of the shadowy figure lingered. Who or what had saved her, and what secrets did the Darkwood still hold? The full moon would rise again, and the werewolf was still out there, lurking in the shadows. But now, Eliza had hope, a glimmer of light in the darkness. The fight was far from over, and the next chapter of Eldridge's tale had only just begun. The days following that fateful night were filled with whispers and speculation. Eldridge was a town of secrets, and the mysterious figure that saved Eliza only added to its enigmatic history. Eldridge's townsfolk were divided. Some believed Eliza's tale, while others dismissed it as the ramblings of a frightened girl. Eliza, however, knew what she saw, and she was determined to uncover the truth. She spent her days poring over the ancient book, searching for any mention of the shadowy figure. Each page revealed fragments of forgotten lore, tales of guardians and ancient beings who watched over the balance of nature. But there were no clear answers. Eliza felt a growing sense of urgency. The next full moon was approaching, and she knew the werewolf would return. One evening, as Eliza sat in her cabin, a knock echoed through the silent room. Startled, she opened the door to find an old woman standing on her doorstep. Her eyes were sharp and piercing, her presence commanding. "You seek answers," the woman said, her voice a raspy whisper. "I can help you, but it comes at a price." Eliza hesitated but then nodded, inviting the woman inside. They sat by the fire, and the woman introduced herself as Agatha, a guardian of the old ways. She spoke of a pact made long ago between the people of Eldridge and the ancient spirits of the forest. The werewolf, she revealed, was once a guardian who had fallen under a curse, twisted by dark magic into a creature of terror. "There is only one way to break the curse," Agatha said. "You must find the heart of the Darkwood, where the spirits reside. There, you will confront the werewolf and the spirit that controls it. Only by severing the bond between them can you free the guardian and save your town." Eliza's heart raced. The task seemed insurmountable, but she had come this far and could not turn back now. Agatha handed her a small vial filled with a shimmering liquid. "This is the essence of the spirits," Agatha explained. "Use it to reveal the hidden path to the heart of the Darkwood. But beware, for the forest will test you." With a mixture of trepidation and resolve, Eliza set out the following night. The forest loomed before her, dark and foreboding. She uncorked the vial and poured a drop of the essence onto the ground. The liquid glowed brightly, illuminating a narrow, winding path that had been invisible moments before. As Eliza ventured deeper into the Darkwood, the trees seemed to close in around her, their branches twisting and writhing like the arms of specters. She felt eyes watching her, unseen whispers echoing in her ears. The path grew steeper and more treacherous, but she pressed on, driven by a determination to end the curse. Hours passed, and Eliza finally emerged into a clearing. At its center stood an ancient, gnarled tree, its roots stretching out like tendrils. The air was thick with an otherworldly energy, and the shadows seemed to pulse with a life of their own. Eliza approached the tree, her heart pounding. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the darkness. It was the werewolf, its eyes burning with a fierce intensity. Eliza could see the torment within them, the battle between its guardian nature and the dark magic that controlled it. She held the silver blade tightly, ready for the confrontation. Before she could act, the ground beneath her shook, and a deep, resonant voice filled the clearing. "Who dares to enter my domain?" it boomed. From the shadows, a spectral figure materialized, a spirit of immense power, its form shifting and ethereal. Eliza realized this was the being that had cursed the guardian, binding it to the form of the werewolf. "I am Eliza," she declared, her voice steady despite her fear. "I seek to free this guardian and end your curse." The spirit laughed, a chilling sound that echoed through the trees. "Foolish mortal," it hissed, "you cannot break the bonds I have forged. The guardian is mine, bound by blood and darkness." Eliza stepped forward, brandishing the silver blade. "I will not leave until this curse is broken." The spirit's eyes glowed with malevolent energy, then faced the wrath of the Darkwood. The werewolf lunged at Eliza, its claws flashing in the moonlight. Eliza dodged, barely escaping its grasp. She swung the blade, striking the creature's side. It howled in pain, but the spirit's power kept it moving, relentless in its attack. Desperation fueled Eliza's movements. She remembered Agatha's words and reached for the vial of essence. In a swift motion, she threw it at the werewolf. The liquid burst into a radiant light, engulfing the creature and the spirit. For a moment, everything was still. The light intensified, and the spirit screamed in rage and agony. The werewolf's form began to shift, its monstrous features fading. Eliza watched in awe as the guardian within emerged, a majestic figure of strength and sorrow. The spirit's hold weakened, and with one final cry, it dissipated into the night. The clearing fell silent, the oppressive energy lifting. The guardian, now free, looked at Eliza with gratitude and pain. "Thank you," it said, its voice deep and resonant. "You have broken the curse." Eliza nodded, exhausted but victorious. The guardian placed a hand on her shoulder. The Darkwood will remember this night. The balance has been restored, but be vigilant. Darkness still lingers, and the fight is never truly over. With those words, the guardian faded into the forest, leaving Eliza alone in the clearing. She returned to Eldridge, the first rays of dawn breaking through the trees. The townsfolk greeted her as a hero, their skepticism replaced by admiration. But Eliza knew the truth. This was just the beginning. The Darkwood held many secrets, and the forces of darkness were always lurking, waiting for their chance to return. She would be ready, a guardian in her own right, prepared to protect her home from whatever lay ahead. And so, the tale of Eliza and the werewolf became legend, a story of courage and resilience passed down through generations. The Darkwood remained a place of mystery, its shadows whispering of the battles fought and the heroes who stood against the darkness. Years passed, and Eldridge thrived under the watchful eye of Eliza, who had become a respected figure in the community. Her bravery had cemented her place in the town's history, but she never forgot the words of the guardian. Darkness still lingered, and she remained ever vigilant. One fateful night, as Eliza was preparing for bed, she heard a familiar sound, a low growl carried on the wind. Her heart skipped a beat. She had not heard that sound since the night she freed the guardian. Grabbing the silver blade she had kept as a reminder, Eliza hurried to the edge of the Darkwood. The moon hung high in the sky, casting long shadows that seemed to dance with an eerie life of their own. Eliza felt a chill run down her spine. She had a sense that something was terribly wrong. As she ventured deeper into the forest, the growls grew louder, more insistent. She followed the sound to a small clearing, where she saw the guardian battling a dark figure. This new entity was shrouded in a swirling, shadowy mist, its eyes glowing a sinister red. The guardian, though powerful, seemed to be struggling against this formidable foe. "Eliza," the guardian called out, his voice strained. "It's the Shadow King, an ancient evil we thought banished long ago. He has returned to reclaim the Darkwood." Eliza's grip tightened on the silver blade. She had heard tales of the Shadow King, a malevolent spirit that once ruled the forest with an iron fist, corrupting everything in its path. It took a coalition of guardians to defeat him, sealing him away in a hidden realm. The Shadow King turned his gaze to Eliza, a wicked smile spreading across his face. "So, you're the one who freed the guardian. How delightful. I have you to thank for my release." Eliza felt a surge of anger and fear. "You will not take this forest," she declared. "I will stop you." The Shadow King laughed, a chilling sound that seemed to reverberate through the trees. "You are welcome to try, little mortal. But this time, I have learned from my mistakes. I am stronger than ever." With that, the Shadow King raised his hand, and tendrils of darkness shot out towards Eliza. She dodged, narrowly avoiding the attack. She swung the silver blade, but the tendrils moved with unnatural speed, deflecting her strikes. The guardian joined the fray, his strength bolstered by Eliza's presence. Together, they fought against the Shadow King, but it quickly became apparent that they were outmatched. The dark energy surrounding their foe seemed to absorb their attacks, growing stronger with each strike. Desperation set in as Eliza realized they couldn't win this battle with brute force alone. She needed a new plan, something that could weaken the Shadow King's power. Remembering the ancient book her grandmother had given her, Eliza recalled a passage about a forbidden ritual, a way to sever a dark spirit's connection to its source of power. "Eliza, what are you doing?" the guardian shouted as she stepped back from the fight. "Trust me," she replied, her mind racing. She needed ingredients for the ritual: moonlight, a silver blade, and the essence of a guardian. She had two of the three, but the essence was another matter. "Eliza, use my strength," the guardian said, sensing her thoughts. He extended his hand, and a soft glow enveloped it. "It's the only way." With a heavy heart, Eliza nodded. She held the silver blade aloft, letting the moonlight bathe it in a radiant glow. The guardian placed his hand over hers, and a shimmering light flowed from him into the blade. Eliza felt a surge of power, unlike anything she had ever experienced. The Shadow King watched, his expression turning from amusement to anger. "You think that will stop me?" he snarled. You are fools to challenge me." Eliza began to chant the ancient words from the book, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her. The blade glowed brighter, pulsing with a powerful energy. The Shadow King screamed, a sound of pure rage and agony, as the light began to pierce his dark form. "No, this cannot be," he roared, thrashing wildly. The tendrils of darkness recoiled, retreating from the blinding light. Eliza and the Guardian pressed their advantage, the blade cutting through the Shadow King's defenses. With a final, desperate cry, the Shadow King's form shattered, the dark mist dissipating into the night. The forest fell silent, the oppressive energy lifting. Eliza sank to her knees, exhausted. The Guardian knelt beside her, his form flickering. "You did it, Eliza," he said softly. "You saved the Darkwood once again. But at what cost?" She replied, tears streaming down her face. "Your essence." The Guardian smiled, a sad yet peaceful expression. "I will live on in the forest, in the very heart you saved. You have restored the balance." With those words, the Guardian's form dissolved into a cascade of light, merging with the forest. The ancient tree at the center of the clearing glowed briefly before returning to its natural state. Eliza stood alone, her heart heavy but her spirit unbroken. She knew the fight was far from over. Darkness would always seek to reclaim the forest, but she was ready. She was the Guardian now, a protector of the balance between light and dark. Returning to Eldridge, Eliza shared her tale with the townsfolk. They listened in awe, their respect for her growing even deeper. Eldridge was safe for now, but the legend of the Shadow King's return spread far and wide, drawing the attention of those who sought to challenge the darkness. And so, Eliza's story continued, a tale of courage, sacrifice, and the eternal struggle between light and dark. The Darkwood remained a place of mystery and danger, its secrets guarded by the one who had proven herself time and time again. Eliza knew that as long as she lived, the forest would be safe, and the shadows would never prevail. But she also knew that the true battle had just begun. The seasons changed, and the legend of Eliza and the Darkwood became an integral part of Eldridge's folklore. As years passed, the town flourished, its people living in harmony with the forest that had once been a source of fear and mystery. Eliza, now older and wiser, continued her vigilant watch over the Darkwood, training a new generation to respect and protect the delicate balance between light and dark. One summer evening, as the full moon began to rise, Eliza walked along the edge of the forest, her heart filled with a sense of peace. The shadows that had once haunted her dreams now seemed distant and benign, and she felt a deep connection to the land she had fought so hard to save. Her thoughts were interrupted by a soft rustling in the bushes. Out stepped a young girl, no more than 12 years old, with bright eyes full of curiosity and a familiar determination. Eliza recognized her as Lily, the daughter of one of the villagers she had grown close to over the years. "Miss Eliza," Lily said, her voice filled with a mixture of awe and excitement. "I've been practicing the chants and learning about the Guardians. I want to help protect the forest, just like you did." Eliza smiled warmly, kneeling to meet Lily's gaze. "You have a brave heart, Lily. The forest will always need protectors, and I believe you have what it takes to be one of them." Together, they walked into the Darkwood, the ancient trees welcoming them with gentle whispers. Eliza showed Lily the secret paths, the hidden clearings, and the places where the Guardian's essence could still be felt. As they ventured deeper, Eliza shared stories of her battles, the sacrifices made, and the enduring spirit of the Guardians who watched over them. Days turned into weeks, and Lily's training continued. She proved to be a quick learner, her bond with the forest growing stronger with each passing day. The other villagers noticed the change in Lily, their pride and hope reflected in their eyes. Eldridge was becoming a community of guardians, united by a common purpose and a deep respect for the Darkwood. One crisp autumn night, as the full moon cast its silver glow over the land, Eliza and Lily stood at the heart of the forest. The ancient tree, once the site of their greatest battle, now stood as a symbol of their enduring victory. "Eliza," Lily said softly, her voice filled with reverence, "do you think the darkness will ever return?" Eliza placed a comforting hand on Lily's shoulder. "Darkness is a part of life, Lily. It will always exist, but so will the light. As long as we stand together, ready to protect what we love, the shadows will never prevail. At that moment, a gentle breeze rustled the leaves, carrying with it the faint, comforting presence of the guardian who had once sacrificed himself for the forest. Eliza felt a warmth in her heart, knowing that the spirit of the guardians would always be with them. Years later, as Eliza grew older, she knew it was time to pass on the mantle. Lily, now a young woman, stood by her side, ready to lead the next generation of protectors. The forest thrived under their care, a testament to the enduring bond between the people of Eldridge and the ancient spirits of the Darkwood. Eliza's legacy lived on, not just in the stories told around the hearth, but in the hearts of those who had been inspired by her courage and wisdom. Eldridge remained a place of harmony and balance, where light and dark coexisted in a delicate dance, watched over by the guardians who would never let the shadows prevail. As the sun set over the peaceful town, Eliza looked out over the Darkwood one last time. She felt a profound sense of fulfillment, knowing that she had played her part in the eternal story of light and dark. And as the first stars began to twinkle in the night sky, she whispered a silent promise to the forest she loved. The guardians would always be there, standing watch, protecting the balance for generations to come. And so, Eldridge continued to flourish, a beacon of hope and resilience, where the bravery of one woman had inspired a legacy that would endure for all time.